This is Set 12 Group 2 assignment, Housing for All, the Manifestation of Youth Towards 2030. Next page. What does home mean? It's more than just a building. It's the foundation of our safety, belonging, and dignity. Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Housing is a fundamental human right. Housing ownership is closely related to social stability, intergenerational wealth transfer, and urban safety. But today, for young people worldwide, owning a house is getting harder. When housing turns from a right into a luxury, it deepens social gaps and increases inequality between generations. This is why the United Nations, in its 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, has placed housing at the forefront. To make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. So the issue we are addressing today is not merely an economic debate, but also concerns social equity and environmental sustainability. Next page. The next part is about problems and challenges. Next page. So for problems 1, housing prices far exceed income levels. In many developed countries, house prices are much higher than people's incomes, often more than 10 times higher. Cities like London, Sydney, and Hong Kong are examples of this. However, according to the UN Habitat, a fair ratio of house price to income should be less than 5:1. And because of housing financialization and speculative investment, this gap has grown worse, deepening structural inequalities in society. This makes it much harder for many young people to afford houses. Next page.
Okay, continue to problems and challenges 2. This primary challenge is raising living costs and growing debt burdens. As this chart shows, young people aged 18 to 29 are struggling to pay expenses compared to older generations. In fact, about 16% of individuals under 35 carry higher debts. This creates a knockout effect, weakening their ability to save for a home. As a slide. Problem 3. Even with savings, the next hurdle is difficult in obtaining loans. Not only have mortgage repayments risen sharply as a percentage of income, but many young people in non-traditional jobs are also marginalized. Reports indicate that over 40% of young people are rejected due to unstable income. Next slide. Thirdly, we are also facing a shortage of affordable housing. Government reports from countries such as Canada and the UK indicate urban housing deficit of between 300,000 and 500,000 units. The imbalance between supply and demand intensifies competition among first-time home buyers, while raising rules further erode purchasing power. Next slide. Finally, there is a lack of financial and real estate knowledge. Many young people have limited understanding of mortgage structure, variable interest rates, and tax implications. This information assumption puts them as a disadvantage in negotiations and increase their financial risks.
And let's talk about solution based on SDG 11. A public Political and public strategy enhanced expanded house political covering, adopting a dual-track retail and purchase system, encouraged public housing investment, promoting social inclusion drawing on Singapore's HDB mixed income community model to balance social, economic, and distribution, improving the finance system, providing more flexible loan arrangements and government guarantee program for young and low-income group. And let's see about Singapore and Finland video how the government do initiative case, and then let's watch the video.
Public housing in Singapore is unlike public housing elsewhere. It doesn't just provide for residual population that who cannot afford their own housing. It in fact provides universally, practically, for the entire Singapore population.
Nearly 4 in 5 Singapore residents basically live in a HDB flat. If you compare it to other equivalent countries, the level of homeownership is nothing compared to what HDB has achieved.
The plan for universal housing began when Singapore achieved self-governance in 1959, at a time when the city was facing a housing crisis, with many people living in crowded, unsanitary slums. In 1960, the government created the Housing and Development Board, or HDB. By 1965, the HDB had built over 50,000 apartments.
Happy home, that's what they're called.
Today, there are more than 1 million HDB flats spread across the country, housing more than 3 million residents.
Because of the long waiting time for new flats, Singapore couples actually think about applying for housing very, very early on, both in age and also early on in their relationship. Some couples talk about applying for housing or just the idea of getting public housing together as early as on the first or second date.
For our friends, most of us would go for HDB flat because it's the most affordable housing available in Singapore.
You can have a good community facility like swimming pool. Our location in the future, there's a mall about 15-minute walk away.
Newer developments are embracing trendy designs and eco-friendly technology, further boosting their appeal among more discerning younger buyers. But certain incentives make it easier for some to own these homes than others.
A large part of HDB subsidies is geared towards the idea of encouraging people to get married and set up a family.
The Singapore government is very pro-family. It insists that the family is the basic institution of society, not the individual. So the public housing favors families.
Currently, in most cases, only singles 35 and above are allowed to buy new HDB flats.
And that's why romantic relationships are being fast-tracked to get priority in the BTO, or build-to-order system, years before units are finished.
States is at an all-time high.
But there's one country that has redefined how nations can tackle homelessness. Finland is one of the only countries in the world to significantly decrease homelessness. Invisible People traveled to Helsinki to investigate.
I was walking areas in the city. If it was America, you would have seen countless homeless people.
How has her life changed in housing?
She doesn't use drugs anymore, and that's who I think. Work. There's a rhythm in life. Normal life, which is what she wanted.
Of course, it's right thing to do for the people to make sure that everyone has a home of their own.
So even with the low number of shelter beds, there is actually space in shelters to be used as emergency shelter, which makes the outreach team's job a bit easier, less frustrating. This empowers them as boots on the ground to play a larger role in improving the problem as well.
And about the finance literacy, school offer finance education course to cultivate fund getting and saving awareness. Bank collaboration with government to provide first-time home buyer training programs. Online counseling and simulate loan system are established to enhance risk awareness. And about community-based house design, the Copenhagen and Japan both to made the same design, combining healthy living and green housing. The first picture is about Copenhagen. The image showcases how Copenhagen integrates extends green space. Political working and cycling reduce car dependency. And the second picture is about Japanese 15-minute city concept, where residents can reach school, shop, parks, and public transportation with 5 minutes from home. They demonstrate how community and transportation accessibility relates to home ownership and urban sustainability.
In conclusion, the essence of the housing issue is not just market imbalance, but a challenge of social inclusion and sustainable development. Through strengthened policy support, financial education, and community innovation, we can gradually achieve affordable housing for all, inclusive and green urban living, intergenerational equity, and social stability. This also aligns closely with the core spirit of Sustainable Development Goal 11, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. That's all. Thank you for listening.